everybody. Before we jump into today's episode, we have two sponsors we want to say thank you to for supporting this show. The first one is Routine. You guys have heard me talk about Routine, honestly, back from the early days of the podcast, and it's still a product I use every single morning. They have a prompt for me here. I'm going to do a little impromptu on this ad read today because honestly, this is a product that I truly believe in. And so I'm just going to tell you guys exactly what I think and why. First and foremost, this is a stat that they shared, but when you sleep, you lose between a pound and a half of water. And most of that's just sweating while you sleep. I used to not know if that was actually true, to be honest. I felt like a pound to a pound and a half of water seemed like quite a bit while I slept. But the one thing I did constantly pay attention to when I started using Routine was just the fact that before using Routine, I always felt a little dehydrated in the morning. And I'm one of those people that when I get up really early usually. I work out. One of the first things I do is some form of fitness. It's just like what I do before everyone's awake. And so it's very easy for me to grab a coffee, pre-workout, an energy drink, something with caffeine in it, and just go. When I am good about using Routine, first, I basically they come in these little single serve packets. They contain half an organic lemon, a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, Himalayan sea salt, all 6 essential electrolytes, and they have no sugar in them at all. A lot of hydration products are going to have sugar. So one of the things about Routine that I love is that there's no sugar in there. So when I am good about doing this consistently, I will take one of those single serve packets, I'll throw it in my mixer bottle, and whether I also put in a pre-workout or something with caffeine or I just drink that separately, I try to drink that first. And the days I do that, I do genuinely feel hydrated and just have a different form of clarity all morning. A lot of people have tried to make their own homemade versions of Routine, right? You see people they take a shot of the apple cider vinegar, they put a little sea salt, a little lemon in a drink. This is essentially that, but in a product that you can take with you on the go, have it ready for you first thing in the morning. I know me personally, when I'm groggy rolling out of bed, the last thing I want to do is, squeeze a lemon, cut lemons up, go get the apple cider vinegar, find my sea salt. I just rip this packet open, throw it in my water, drink it, and it's good to go. You can try yours today. If you haven't tried it yet and you've been listening to this podcast for years, just try the damn Routine. Give it a shot. You can use code ShaneWhite30 and get 30% off your first order. So you get 30% off by using code ShaneWhite30 and go to yourroutine.com. To make it even easier, I've added the link to yourroutine.com in the show notes. So just click on the show notes for this episode, click on the link to yourroutine.com, and don't forget to use code ShaneWhite30. All right, guys, today's episode is also brought to you by NeuroRoast. Again, I'm going to go a little off script here. NeuroRoast is a product that I also came across during this year of 2023. They are a coffee company that's helping you optimize your brain function and overall well-being. This is another product that, to be honest with you, when I first started working with it, I was a little on the fence. I was like, do I really want to have mushrooms in my coffee? Well, folks, I will tell you, when I use NeuroRoast, one of the things that has stood out to me the most is I'll back up. People that know me know that I have way too much caffeine, typically. One of the things this year I've done a good job of is cutting out alcohol. Not completely, but predominantly, I don't touch a lot of alcohol anymore. What I think I've actually done the other way, though, is add a lot more caffeine. So I do definitely drink too much caffeine. That's something I need to work on next year, is to try to minimize how much of that. But NeuroRoast is something that has actually helped me because of the way they've formulated their coffee. Like, unlike regular coffee, which is, still something I consume, but NeuroRoast specifically doesn't cause jitters or crashes. Mushroom coffee provides more balance and sustained energy, allowing you to stay focused and productive throughout the day. So the times I do use NeuroRoast, I'll be honest, I just don't feel that jittery, like, I'm jumping out of my chair or standing here at my desk jumping around feeling. So give NeuroRoast a try. They have some really good flavors. I'll be honest too, the two guys that started NeuroRoast are just really good dudes based out of New York, and they're hustling, and hopefully they can get some people to try NeuroRoast this holiday season by listening to this podcast. So for you folks who've been on the fence, I'm telling you, it tastes delicious. They've done a fantastic job of making this coffee not only be functional, but taste fantastic. And if you want to try NeuroRoast, you can use code ShaneWhite. So it's super simple, just ShaneWhite at checkout. you'll also get 30% off. So if you go to neuroroast.com, and once again, I have added that to the show notes. So just click into the show notes while you're listening to this episode. You can click on NeuroRoast link directly. Don't forget to use code just Shane White, and you'll get 30% off your order. Hope you guys love both these products. I'm trying to not only bring you guys products that I use, but that I believe in on the podcast. I'm not taking ad reads for any brands that I don't really believe in. So anyway, hope you guys love both those products, yourroutine.com and neuroroast.com. I've added those links to the show notes. I hope you guys love it. And I got an awesome guest coming up right after this. Everybody, welcome to the first episode of 2025, and today we're going to jump into all things January. So I think January, for most food and beverage brands, especially in the better for you space, this is a pivotal month, kind of like our Super Bowl when it comes to getting in front of new consumers. So I'm going to kick it to Kyle. There's a couple big things we want to hit on today, but really the goal of this episode for all of you listening is just to learn a little bit more about why January is more important, and ultimately what are some of the big tactics that Kyle and I think are fundamental to success. So kick it over, buddy. How are you?
Let's do it. Doing good, man. Happy New Year. Happy 2025. This is very timely, obvious, as majority of us are getting back into the swing of things, getting back to typical routine following the holiday season. The thing I would start with is challenging anyone who's listening to put yourselves in the mind of a consumer, right? It's like we spend so much time working, so much time in the industry, so much time on Amazon. And if you're selling on Amazon, that you probably feel the same way, but try to remove yourself from, you are an Amazon expert. Think of just as a consumer. What's going on in our lives? What are we putting back in our pantry specifically for food and beverage? And then what are your kids doing? What is your diet looking like? What are your resolutions, right? And you start to get a sense of why January becomes such a massive opportunity, specifically for better for you health and wellness, but also pantry staple categories. Think coffee, water, dry snacks, things like that. First and foremost, you have an influx of people just restocking pantries in general, right? We got through the holidays, everyone was eating garbage or everyone was having leftovers. Kids are going back to school, so let's just fill our pantries what we know we're eating. The other thing that we have consumers doing is starting diets, starting resolutions, looking for ways to get healthier. So any product that's in the health and wellness space, January truly becomes a massive opportunity to drive trial because these are potentially a lot of new consumers. So January is one of the, I would say, outside of major Amazon generated events, Prime Day, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, October Prime Day, January is the biggest month of trial driving outside of those events. So what that typically means is you obviously want to be promoting in some shape or fashion, but if you set yourself up well to drive trial in January, what you should see thereafter is a sustained baseline shift, not only coming from trials that are now potentially lifelong customers or repurchases again in February and March, also a subscription growth, right? Because a lot of people would be taking advantage of a subscription discount if they're going to give the product a try. It's very, very important to focus on January, not necessarily as this month that's going to be unprofitable, because it certainly can be, but you really need to be focused the entire month on driving trial, as opposed to like a Prime Day where you're focused for 48 hours on driving trial. So as I said at the jump, like putting yourself in the shoes of the consumer to understand, am I in a category that is better for you, health and wellness focus, where people are potentially drawn to it this time of year? And then second, am I a pantry staple, paper towels, coffee, pretzels, whatever your family just consumes on a daily basis, where that is now a restock item this first couple of weeks in January. And then the other thing too, and I'll kick it over to you, is specifically CPCs or cost per clicks. The amount of traffic you have on site is going to massively shift in January. So there's definitely some advertising things brands need to be aware of as well. I'll kick it over to you for those.
Yeah. I think from an advertising perspective, it's a period of time where Kyle and I would recommend thinking more about category and what I would call like high funnel targeting versus really focusing on ROAS. And I know that's easy to say when maybe your goal is profitability and ROAS is really important. But the reason for that is this is the month where, to Kyle's point, all those different things that you consume and the consumer on average, the things they're looking for, they're typically not necessarily looking for a specific brand. And so they're really where you see a lot of the search volume going this month is people that are just searching. I'll use a couple of Kyle's examples. They might just be searching like clean, plastic-free paper towels, right? Like maybe they have a thing that they're trying to do differently in January, whether that's health, whether that's whatever their thing is. Most of the time, health and wellness, you can think people are looking for, let's just say like gluten-free, low sugar, high protein, like some of these like really foundational diet type keywords. Those are areas where brands can really get a lot of new consumers into the brand if they execute advertising properly. So, that's probably obvious for people who are doing advertising on Amazon, but I think whether you're new on Amazon or you've been on Amazon for a long time, kind of like I can tell you from all of our years on the platform that's never changed. That continues to just be a huge area where you can get new consumers. And then I think the last thing I'd build on that with advertising would just be January is an opportunity, like I said, obviously to get new consumers into the fold, but really like looking at January in a microcosm, you should really be worried about new brand sales. Because these people who are buying from you in January, whether that was at a healthy acquisition cost or if it was expensive, if you have a great product and you get people in the door in January, the likelihood of you having a strong Q1, Q2, and obviously lots of things you got to execute in the first half of the year to have a successful second half. But Kyle and I always had this funny saying at our X-Bar, and advertising is a big piece of this, which was if we could hit our January number that Kyle and I put on paper as our forecast, we had a pretty good indication that we could either hit or we would miss the first half of the year. Funny enough, like January is just such an important month. And the biggest piece of that growth in January was always like how many new to brand consumers can we get? So I would just say like be a little bit more ruthless this month when it comes to targeting category related keywords than you normally might be in your advertising strategy, just because people they're apt to try new things.
Yeah, which is I think a pivotal shift too from December. Sorry.
Yeah,
so if you think about like Amazon traffic in general for the last week and a half, call it from Christmas Day to around about probably now, has been slower just because people are traveling, they're in the holidays, they're not thinking about, they're thinking about a million other things during the holiday season. That is a complete 180 shift when everyone kind of gets back to their normal lives, right? So your bid prices, your budget, potentially your content, right? If you put great gift for dads, great gift for moms, holiday gifting, whatever in your hidden search terms and your title and your bullets, that's obviously all old news now. So now you need to not only update all the advertising, but then also take a look at your content to say, okay, is my product about resolutions? Is it about dry January? Is it about, weight management? And obviously you have to be, a bit, you have to be aware of what words you're putting because Amazon will flag a number of different things related to weight loss specifically. But it goes beyond just like having the right promo, being in stock. It's content, it's advertising. This is a true pivotal shift from December to January where demand and potential for conversion is shifting drastically.
Sure. Yeah. And what would you say the last thing we would leave people with is when you think about promoting, discounting, you hit on it. What's like your macro thought around this month in the grand scheme of a year on how people should think about like what types of promotions and not necessarily the specifics, but just like macro, like how you should think about these consumers you're targeting?
Yeah, so if you're able to take a long-term, gosh, not even long-term, if you're able to take a quarterly, 6-month, or a 12-month view in terms of your budget, whether it's trade plus advertising, or separate, you have the benefit of January being the first month of the year, right? So I would encourage every brand to be aggressive in both your trade and advertising spend, because even if you don't succeed in gaining new to brand customers, you have 11 months of the year to right that ship. You've got 2 months left in the quarter. You've got 5 months left in the first half. Like you can make amends during months where sales are just typically slower, like March, for instance. March tends to be a slower month compared to January and February. So I would push the gas pedal down now, knowing that you can put the brakes on later in the year.
Love it. Love it. All right, man. I think that's a great first episode of the year. Hopefully everyone listening is doing some big things here in January and kicks off the year the way Kyle and I are.
Sounds good, man.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Thanks for
listening.
listening.
All right, guys. We'll see you.